News this morning, the Human Rights Commission will release the findings of its probe into Zulu King Goodwill Zwelithini today. The commission was asked to look into comments he made during last year's xenophobic attacks. Our reporter Karyn Maughan is joining us now live from the commission's headquarters at Constitution Hill in Johannesburg. Karyn, good morning. Seems like such a long time ago when those incidents happened. Can you just take us back very quickly and just remind us what actually is the king alleged to have said and why this commission started investigating?
Well, essentially what was happening is that in March last year, about a year and a half ago, the king gave an address in Zulu in which he was reported to have said that compared foreigners to parasitic fleas that must be squashed, also said that they needed to go back to their countries, and reportedly made claims about the way in which the South African government and leadership had failed to deal with what he identified as the migrant problem, saying that, while leaders in South Africa had found refuge in a number of African countries during the apartheid struggle, quote unquote, they had not set up businesses there. Essentially, quite a strong alleged xenophobic rhetoric, which very much focused on this allegation that foreigners were somehow responsible for stealing the jobs of locals. In the aftermath of those comments, we saw that wave of xenophobic violence, which left 7 people dead and 2,000 or so people left in so-called refugee camps, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal and in Johannesburg. So the commission really investigating what exactly the king said. We know that in the aftermath of this, he claimed he was quoted out of context. eNCA itself ran his speech in the original Zulu with translations. He was also defended by, among other people, President Jacob Zuma's son, Edward. And then a month after he made the utterances, he said that attacks on foreigners were, as he described them, vile. So we know that this has been a long investigation. We understand from the press release that, in fact, the Human Rights Commission, in fact, released a preliminary report in January this year, and we're planning to release the final report in February, but because of what they say were complexities in this case, it is only now being released today.
Well, any indication at all from that preliminary report, Karyn, what we are likely to hear today? Have you got any idea at all, very briefly?
Well, I think the issue is this. There can be no, we've seen commentators like Mondli Makanya come out and say that if you can speak Zulu and if you understand what the king actually said in terms of the comments about, allusion to foreigners as being parasitic bugs, then there really isn't much room for ambiguity. But I think, we know that Lawrence Bushwana has broadened the scope of this investigation, gone to those camps, spoken to the migrants. We know that the Human Rights Commission has taken a very strong stance on these issues of the rights of migrants, and particularly, sort of waves of xenophobia that have come in and out of South Africa. But it's really going to be, this rhetoric around complexities may lead one to believe that the Commission may be a bit softer than the public may expect in this particular instance. It's really about what the king has done in response to the allegations against him. We know that in 2012, he was again investigated by the Human Rights Commission for making comments about gay people, reportedly saying that they were rotten. So it's really going to be very interesting to see how the Commission has dealt with these allegations. And indeed, Dan, if they do make an adverse finding that he, as the king, has trampled on the human rights of migrants, what kind of recourse they will suggest or what kind of sanction they will impose in terms of that finding.
Thank you very much, Karyn. We'll be waiting for that announcement later on this morning from the Human Rights Commission.